some jazz today. Yes, you gon' learn, you gon' learn, you gon' learn. It was just past 1, 2, 3 man with a 4, 5 step to the door like, oh my gosh, just throw that cash in a back bag, run around the back.
Hey everybody, it's Liz from the Lemon Bowl.
Vince from Irie Kitchen.
And welcome to the Irie Lemon Podcast.
It's episode 19 of the Irie Lemon Podcast. I just kind of jumped in there, sorry.
Yeah, what?
We'll never get started if you don't.
Is that right, Sam? Episode 19?
Yeah, 19.
Okay.
I'm excited.
Lucky number 19.
Lucky
So
number
we're here
19.
with Jamie and Ted from Michigan House and obviously Liz. So.
You're just throwing shade at Liz.
I know, what the heck?
Wait, what?
Obviously,
We're
Liz.
besties.
No, I'm saying like, they know like, we got two guys.
I know, but it's just funny.
Guys,
First, I got a side hug. Then
I'm
he
in-
jumped out the
oh
Mongol
my God,
side.
this morning-
Welcome him with.
this morning for me, guys, is going like just downhill. I'm not looking too good right now. You guys want to redo the intro then? Sorry for that.
No, it's all right.
Start over.
Okay.
All right, Liz, you intro then.
No, I like it better when you do it.
All right, guys, this is episode 19 of the Irie Lemon Podcast. We're here with Jamie and Ted from Michigan House. We're excited to do some talking and things.
And tings. Okay, we're going to do some introductions first for people that don't know you. So, Jamie, why don't you start? Tell us about yourself.
Yeah. So Jamie Kirby, I am the creative director for Choco Footwear, and I own Heyday Event Lab, which is a wedding planning business that I've been doing for now 11 years.
Wow.
And am partners with Ted and Peter Jacob in a little project called Michigan House.
Oh, wow. So you're busy.
Just a little.
She's super, she just chills most days.
Yeah.
It's really easy to get on her calendar. Okay, Ted.
And I'm Ted Feely, and unfortunately, I don't have like 7 jobs to list.
Thank God.
Yeah.
Totally fine.
I'm the one person who works pretty much full time for Michigan House, and this is 6 years of Michigan House
Crazy.
actually this spring.
Congrats.
Which is crazy because it was supposed to just be like a one-time thing,
And then he keeps making
somehow continues.
That's
Oh,
cool.
wow.
And just as like a little fun fact, I believe. Well, actually, am I the first person that went to high school with Liz, who has been on this podcast?
Oh, that is a fun fact.
Liz and I graduated
We
together.
sure did.
We've
A little
also
flex right
Middle
there.
school on.
yes, we've been in weddings together. We were
Yep.
best man and maid of honor at a wedding
Yeah.
once.
Oh,
Our
wow.
best friends are married.
Yes, we go way back.
Isn't that cool?
So I have a question.
Yes.
Did you think Liz was gonna be as successful as she is in high school? Was
Oh
that like
God.
was that evident? Was that like, yo, she's gonna do something? Or was
Let
it
me,
more
tell,
like,
let me tell you one thing. I spent most of high school thinking about how successful Liz was going to be.
Yeah, right.
Something I was very, very concerned with. No, I mean, first of all, you have to understand that like when we were at the high school, podcast didn't exist. Like social media
Instagram,
didn't exist.
right.
Blogs didn't
sorry.
exist.
Yeah, I'm young.
So like, if you were to ask me, like, if someone had told me, well, Liz is going to be an internet influencer, I would have said,
What's the
What's
internet?
that? Right.
I was like, you mean like AOL AIM? She's gonna have like a really popular like
Wow.
AIM account.
I'm so young.
So yeah, I had no idea. No,
No.
surprised.
Yeah. Well, that's huge. I think
Yeah.
that's the reaction people get from me. They're like, "What? Vince is the?"
Yeah.
I wasn't like I wasn't a good kid, so
Now you're a fancy restaurant owner.
yeah, not that fancy. But it's fun.
Okay.
Though. It's fun.
So,
Okay.
the next big question. What's Michigan House?
I knew that was going to be.
I know.
So
I don't know
I'm
if you
gonna-
hate answering it or you like it because it's another opportunity to tell people so less people ask you in the future.
It's a great question.
It's a great question, and I literally like answered this question 20 times
All
a week. So
time,
I'll give you an
yeah.
answer that is the sort of the elevator pitch answer,
Yeah.
and then we can get a little deeper into it. First thing I always say is Michigan House. If you see it, you'll get it immediately. If not, you have to listen to me talk for a little while. So
Yeah.
I apologize about that. It's a little bit of everything. But in general, Michigan House is a platform for innovative Michigan companies and people to connect to like the wider world. Specifically because it's February, we're 30 days from South by Southwest. It's a platform for innovative Michigan companies and people to connect to South by Southwest and their global audience of movers and shakers and investors and innovators and all that kind of thing. How do we do that? So we create a physical space in Austin, Texas during South by Southwest and we really turn it into kind of a Michigan embassy. And we bring up. There's going to be about 120 Michigan people who come to South by this year. We program the space for 4 days. Everything from official South by Southwest panel discussions, speakers, to we're doing like a yoga class this year.
Oh yeah,
different
because it's
kinds
a
of
yoga
parties.
studio.
Well, we're running a yoga studio. Yes. We have a cafe that we're doing a bunch of stuff with Whirlpool with.
Cool.
We've got what else?
Music.
We got music.
Yeah.
Music. We've got films that we're showing. I mean, you name it, we're doing
Everything.
it. The whole idea of like, let's show people, not just tell them, all the things that we see happening all around us in Michigan all the time, and by doing so, you're not only showing what's possible in Michigan, but you're also like sort of changing the narrative around what is Michigan.
Exactly.
Wow.
A lot of our
that.
sponsors come to us looking to attract talent. There's a lot of growing sectors like tech and mobility, and when you think of tech or mobility, you don't necessarily think of Michigan first.
Right.
So it's it's an audience where there's a lot of people who are in that field, and it's a great place for us to show all the wonderful things that Michigan has to offer, and then like get those people to come want to like live here and work here and make it a better place for all of us.
Jamie's gonna laugh at this because there was a time in my life when I lived in New York City.
He worked at MTV.
Yeah.
Just
So, anyways,
FYI.
there's a famous like New Yorker comic that's like a view from like the East Coast, and it's like, it's like New York City, New Jersey, and then like there's like middle of the country, and then Los Angeles. Like it's like no, and I think one of the things the Michigan House is trying to do is to like, it's really kind of a branding activation for the state of Michigan, but trying to make Michigan stand out from some of the flyover country kind of thing, and do so in a place like South by that's so dynamic and has so much going on that literally there's been 2 to 3 articles where like there's like a sentence in there. It's like, we even saw a Michigan House. Like they're surprised to find us there, and then surprised that we're like doing really cool stuff.
Right. Yeah.
So maybe I missed this, but what inspired the idea for Michigan House? Like, what was it like?
Yeah.
A drink? Was it like, hey, we should do this thing? Like, how did it happen?
Jamie Kirk.
Is Jamie here?
Well, Ted,
Take a sip for this.
take a sip. Ted and I were working on some things when he moved back from wherever he had recently been, Colorado.
It was New York again, but
New York. When he moved back from New York,
we met actually like
right before I went to South by.
Right before he went to South by.
So I went to South by Southwest for work. At the time, I was doing corporate event planning for Wolverine Worldwide, and I went to get inspired, see what was going on, learn how, learn about activations at a really high level. And I went for 3 days, and I stayed for 12 days. And I just was so like invigorated and excited about what I saw and inspired, and met so many cool people. And but one of the things I saw while I was there was a Pure Michigan booth in the trade show, and it was like piles of sand and some beach balls, and I was like, this is not Michigan. Like this is not what a representation of like the cool place that I live. So I was on my way back after my many flight changes.
we literally did not think she was coming back. It was just like, I'm staying longer.
And I was running to make my connection in Atlanta, and I met someone named Joe Voss, and I was just all frothy about how excited I was about what I saw and how there could be something so much more exciting for Michigan. And it was sort of stemmed from some of the projects that Ted and I were working on. And some of the thoughts we had already been having, but it turns out that Joe happened to work on the board for an organization called Creative Many, which is no longer existing, but basically a nonprofit that supports creative entrepreneurs in the state.
Cool.
And so little did I know my frothiness was going to turn into potentially a viable idea. So Ted and Peter got involved, and a lot of other community leaders, and we sort of came up with the idea of Michigan House, and it's certainly grown and changed over the years, but I think the mission and the inspiration behind, you know, showcasing all the cool things that are in Michigan, like, stays intact.
Yeah, and I mean the first year we did it, which now is 2015. So we literally rented a house in East Austin.
Yeah.
It actually happens to be the house that we still stay in, which is fun.
I remember that.
And we drove down there. We had like 13 hours to like move all their stuff out of the house. Like literally we're like moving them out into our moving truck and moving all our stuff in. And then for 4 days, we had 17 bands come through in 4 days. We had multiple panel discussions. There was like, we did so much. We had so little idea of what the hell we were doing and like how we were going to pull it off. And like the fact that we even like survived it, much less wanted to do it again, is crazy.
But for it to have an origin in this house, and we literally moved all their stuff out. We replaced all their art with Michigan art. We replaced all their furniture with Michigan furniture. We replaced all the beer in the fridge with Michigan beer. So it was really like a
Actual Michigan house.
Backyard
Yeah.
party.
Well, and then we had, you know, it's like these people were coming out of the woodwork. A guy that like has ended up being like one of our good friends, and it's like a huge help to us for ever since. This guy, he just like heard about it somehow, like probably like a newspaper article or something like that. He shows up on his like Harley. He's like, this guy's wearing like all leather. He's got this like shaved head. He looks like maybe like a 1980s professional wrestler. Well, he's a Detroit native, Wayne State grad, but has been in Austin for like 30 years now, and he's like a partner at the Capitol Factory in Austin, which is like one of the like most important entrepreneurial sort of engines in the state of Texas. And he just like, what's this Michigan thing? And then he like walks in, and the first year we had one of the penny ponies, Sandy the pony from Irie. And he's like, oh, Sandy. And he like, he just like got it immediately, loved it, and was like, he's like, since then he's been one of our biggest advocates.
Yeah.
And I think there was something that we saw then, and again, we had no idea really what we had on our hands when we started, but you know, there's a ton of people who have left Michigan, but they still have a feeling for it, you know, and they still, you know, they still want to be reminded of things. So we knew there was something there. We had no idea what exactly it was.
Yeah.
And honestly, I think we spent the last 5 years figuring it out.
Wow.
Right.
That's like the best ideas, right? You just have it and you do it, and then you see what happens next.
Yeah.
And sometimes you plan things too much out, or you don't, you know, or it's too calculated. And I feel like it loses like the energy.
Yeah.
The story, the authentic side of things, right? Because you're just trying to always make money, or you're trying to do this, right? And don't get me wrong, sometimes you need that to get things moving and working. But I love the fact that like the idea just happened, you guys did it. So I'm interested though about your friendship. Like, how do you guys become friends and got you guys to the Michigan House point? Obviously, you guys have some history. You guys are like cool enough to know that he was going to MTV.
Like, do you think that your success and what it's become is hugely in part to the fact that you're actually friends first before, you know what I mean? Like the basis.
I think so. And I think, our friendship with Peter, who unfortunately couldn't be here with us today, is like based in the idea of work. I mean, like we are rarely together unless we're hashing out a new idea or working through some part of our plan. It's just like we're weirdos that like work is fun to us, and so like putting together these projects has been how our friendship has really grown, because I wouldn't say before Michigan House we were like best friends, but I would
really
call
fast.
you my best friend now.
Yeah. No, I mean, Jamie and I met each other in January. She went to South by in March. We did our first project together.
It's September.
No, we did, because we did the truck. What's the truck?
In May, right?
In May.
Oh my God.
Then we did a Made in Michigan store called Middle West in September, and then Michigan House again the next March. It was, I mean, we didn't know each other that well, honestly, but our friendship really has grown out of the work we've done together, and same thing with Peter, and you know, a bunch of like the some best friends in our lives are part of Michigan House.
Yeah,
I mean, it's there are all these like teary moments during Michigan House and like the craziness of it, but like there was a moment last year which was our biggest thing we've ever done before until this year, And you know, we look around at the team we have, and in some ways, like, that's the thing I'm like most proud of, is like the people that come together and like make this thing happen, because it's really we do all kind of like we all love each other, and like that's why we're good at what we do, is because we want to be there with each other. And I think when we get into some things around like collaboration and all of that, I think that is sort of part of it, is like,
Yeah, so talk about that.
I think it's an interesting one thing I wanted to say before we move into that, and maybe it feeds that, is like, one of the things that I think makes it work so well and is so successful, it's like one of the few experiences in my life where everyone is in the role where they are like optimal, you know, where they can shine the most, where a lot of the corporate teams that I've been on have been people are not necessarily placed specifically.
They're not in the right seat of the bus.
Yeah, exactly. And everyone is in the right seat on the bus at Michigan House, and it really shows.
So how did that happen, and why do you think that doesn't happen in corporate environments?
Well, real quick before we jump to that, sorry again. The second jump in for Liz's question. Sorry. So, first off, I agree with what you're saying. I think everyone playing their position, and you have to learn that. That's like rule 43 for me. Like, everyone can play their position, and we can see a great outcome. A lot of times, everyone wants to be number one. A lot of people want to be number two. A lot of people want to be number 16. They don't want to do anything for real. And it's just like, we have to like, you have to step up, play your position so that we can see this thing through. But also, similar, I think same thing with Liz and I, like how we became friends. And then like, it started with work. And then like, now we're like a year in, and we're like, I talk to Liz more than I talk to any of my other friends. And it's like weird, you know what I'm saying? Because like, wait, how did it happen? But it's like same thing, like it kind of started within work. It started like, hey, like we both are aligned at this point. We like ideas, we like seeing them through. And then through work, I feel like, you know, we built a friendship. So I want to, like, there's similarities between you guys' friendship and our friendship as well.
I think it's a natural thing if you're passionate about what you do.
Yeah,
exactly.
Like when I'm with some of my other friends who I mean, they
losers.
That's something I would.
You guys are hearing this. He doesn't mean it.
No, when I'm with my friends who like aren't part of the Michigan House team, like I worry that they get annoyed because like I talk about Michigan House a lot, because it's like that's what I'm like a huge part of my life, and like of course it is. It's like, how much time do you spend at work? And you know, you want to get away from that sometimes, but other times you want somebody to be like as excited as you are.
I think the secret to having a work that you don't want to get away from.
Right.
And
That's
obviously
true.
my whole business accidentally became that because my life became my work. And I think, like, to your point, I find myself, it's like I know that people that aren't in that working world, even people that just don't even work outside of the home, and they're just more focused on different priorities, it's almost like I find myself either, whether you call it dumbing yourself down or muting yourself or holding yourself back, because I'm like, they don't want to hear about this anymore. Like, how many projects can one person have? Like, how many events? How many new ideas? Like, no one wants to hear about my clients. Like, no one wants to hear about this. So it's really nice to have a friend like Vince where I can be Liz to the max, like without apology or feeling like any sort of way.
Right.
You know what I mean? And I think that's probably similar with you. And that's why the
feel
friendship
like we need to
becomes
like create some sort of a like cartoon character, Liz to the max.
I like that.
I don't know what that character's gonna do in the world.
I've been pushing her to be Liz. You got to say that.
Well,
Your
tell
story
him the one
right
that's
now.
That's how we became friends. He's like, your life's cool. It's about a 1/6 of your capacity, so let's step it up a notch. But I've never had another friend that was like telling me to do more. You know what I mean? I'm sure that's like.
I tell Jamie to do more all the time.
Right. Just
Like, get another damn job.
No, literally, no, he did
That's someone
though.
else's fucking plate. Come on, Liz. God.
I do think, I mean, you guys talk about this a lot in your Instagram content, so I know it's something that you think about a lot, but like finding people who are at the same like vibrational
Vibration.
level.
Oh, yeah.
And I think that to circle back to that question that we've gotten away from several times, you know, how did the team get built this way? You know, we started with, it was Ted, Peter, and I, and then Peter Fox. So Ted is the brains and the business development side of things and program development. My role is more production, logistics, like hole filler, sort of house mom kind of role, and Peter plays the design role, and then Peter Fox is audiovisual. So
let me also just add in there, Jamie's other role is like she's the person that like make sure everything is good. That like ideas like are going to go off, we're gonna be able to pull them off, and that they like that it all fits into a. I don't know the best way to describe it other than like
logistics.
She does logistics for sure,
Curation?
but there is curation,
Judgment. Lots of judgment.
How to package it up.
I think she like in some ways
Shows.
Jamie like gets she just sees. You can tell her an idea, and she can kind of see what that's going to be and how it'll work in the whole. In a way, it's almost like.
Also visionary, but
yeah,
with
it kind of like
ability.
needs. If it gets like Jamie's stamp of approval, then you know it's going to work, and it should work, and you should spend your time doing it.
That's a priceless person to have on the team.
Wow.
Yeah.
Because having the idea and knowing how to execute it.
Yeah.
You run into a lot of people that have ideas that don't know how to make it happen, right? Because it's like they don't think that far into it. They're just like, oh, here's my idea.
Well, not every idea is good or profitable or smart or a good use of people's time or in line with your vision. So it's sometimes nice to also have a trusted friend, partner, everything where they can tell you it's not going to be. Versus sometimes I feel like, especially in work environments where you have egos and you can't shut down a bad idea because you're protecting egos. So I think it's good to have like a real trusted partner that will let you know it's not a good idea, which sucks, but it's better than spending a year planning a bad idea.
Right, true. Well, and so as we fell into our roles, things have evolved for each of us as we've learned, but that first year we did a whole lot. I think back and I'm like, how did we do all of that with just the four of us? It was a real feat. And so as we looked to future years, we tried to be really smart about the types of things we needed to add to the team. But I think sometimes a person presented themselves to us and we just felt the right vibration from them and like found a way to integrate them into the team in a way that was really meaningful to them. So sometimes we seek out a specific role that we know we need to make the experience more excellent, and then we try really hard to find the right person to fill it. But sometimes the right person, like at the right vibe, comes along and we're like, we need you on the team. Let's find a way to integrate you because you just have the right.
Yeah, because you can't train mindsets or energies or chemistry.
We talk about this a lot with you when you hire people about do they care about your whole world anyway?
Yes.
Like, is there any interest?
Yeah.
Because to do it, I hire a lot of people for my restaurants. So I always like find people like, this is more, Irie at least, is more than just like a kitchen job. You need to make some extra money because we don't do wait staff. So like, you're here because you like what we're doing, what we're up to. And you need that interest. And then we also need to see, right, what's your capabilities, like what talents you bring to the team, but also like your mindset. Like, are you someone that wants to get better? Like, because not everybody's mindset is applicable for where you're at right now in your business, right? Because like some people are at scale and they're cogs in the system. Like they just need to be here to bring this paper over here, right? And it sounds like minimal. It's very important, but like other people you need like who are when you're in a smaller team, you need that aura, what I call it, that like have a great idea, know how to execute it, excited to do it, and willing to continue to go even after failures or didn't turn out this way. Just know how to see it all the way through, solution oriented.
Momentum needs energy, and every big project needs a lot of momentum. So if you don't have energy feeling that, don't you think it all comes down to energy?
Energy,
Think
momentum.
about the people that you've had that you thought would be part of a project, and then their energy was just not gonna work.
Yeah,
I mean, that shuts. No, I'm a very visual. What my role is, so like if the energy is that, it really doesn't work.
Yeah, but what you said, so I agree too. So anyone who's listening, building a team or an idea, project, whatever the culture you set, right, is like, that is what it is. Because the people who are making the whole thing tweak and work need a certain energy to be able to come in excited to work every day.
That's a fact.
Like if you're a high energy, positive kind of person, your work environment is like not that, how the fuck do you think you're going to do anything well?
Right.
Like, you need that energy to like, so I need things to be loud, like really loud.
All right, so let's talk about momentum. You've obviously started this. So where would you say was the shift? Like I know even when I started the Lemon Bowl, like I didn't make any money for 3 years. So it's been this is my 10th anniversary coming up. So it was a very gradual, slow transformation of passion project, I guess, to profitable business. So where would you say, I'm sure you've had different milestones over the last 7 years of different fundamental changes you made in the way that you do things, or even just the way you I mean, obviously you now have a lot more people going down. Where would you say was the first big shift that you made?
So I think, so if we go back to year one,
Yeah.
we finished this thing. We know there's something there. We're not sure what it was. Luckily, like, we were not the only people that felt that way. So,
Yeah.
so I mean, something we should get out there. So the way Michigan House works is we have sponsors, partners, whatever I mean, that's how we pay for everything. And, you know, it's not a small
Budget.
bill
Yeah.
in the end. So it's, you need a lot of them, and you need them to be, to be invested in the idea and understand the idea. And again, this is like a thing that happens for 4 days, and it happens in Texas, you know, 1,000 miles away from where most of these businesses are located, or at least at home, their home is. So you need some trust from those people. So that first year, we got back. Some of those organizations got together. It was like, this needs to happen again. You guys need to be the people that run it. This organization created many. At that point, it was like, okay, we're going to give you guys a 2-year contract to keep doing that. So at that point, it was like, okay, this makes sense for us. You know, we had a blast, and we had sort of a contract to do it. You know, it wasn't the kind of contract where we're like, Jamie's like, oh, I'm quitting Wolverine.
Right.
Like, I mean, it was not market rate at all. It was very much like, this is what can happen. But it, you know, we also knew that there was something there. So yeah, let's follow this and see. For me personally, that was the time where it was like, okay, I was the one who had the most sort of, I was the one who had the most time at that point to be like, this is what I'm going to start kind of following up on, and like, let's see where this can go. And so I think for me, that shift was like sort of then. Over the last 5 years, it's kind of been this kind of gradual growth. And I think like one thing that's really important for people to understand is like, if they go to Michigan House now, as opposed to what it was, like, I think one of the reasons we've been successful is because we've done it step by step. We've not skipped any steps. I mean, we're lucky because it's like we only do it like one time a year at South by. We've done other ones, and that's a whole other thing. But because we do that step by step, and we've kind of grown slowly, we've like grown our skills and grown our ability to do it as we've done it. We've also been able to grow our partnerships, and the sort of budget has grown to a point where, what was it, a year and a half ago now, when this Creative Many organization that had been kind of the fiduciary behind it all is like, we can't do this anymore. And then a year later, they're like, they can't do anything anymore. They're just not going to exist. We, at that point, were like, you know what? We're actually ready to just take this over completely. Or I was anyways. And I was able to convince Jamie and Peter we were as well.
Friendship, yes.
Yeah. Well, that was like the next big moment. And I sometimes like have to remind myself that was like that's a big change. And so like, you know, to last year was the first year where, you know, we did not have a statewide organization and their like full budget behind it. Like we were the ones taking all of the risk. We were the ones
writing all the checks. We were the one, like, if we didn't have enough money, we didn't get paid.
Yeah.
And that wasn't always the case before. So we were able to, because we had that backing at the beginning, it kind of gave us some runway to start. And then the last 2 years have been really when we've just carried everything. And I think, so that was the moment for me where this is like, oh wow, this is a whole other thing. And I think, you know, we're still figuring out like, okay, so what does that mean? What else do we do? Like, you know, what's the next step?
Yeah, so that leads to my question. What is the next step? What do you guys, so this year you still have an installment in Austin, Texas for South by Southwest.
Yeah.
How do you guys look for the future? What have you guys learned? I've asked like deep questions, a lot of layers to it. So let's start there, then I'll continue before you get lost in my questions. But like, what is the next step? What's the vision? I mean, you guys, 5-6 years in, right? Are you thinking thoughtfully of like, how can we go bigger? Is it going smaller? Is it getting more other cities in Michigan to be part of? Like, what is, you don't have the state support anymore. What are you guys thinking? What is your guys' energy for now and then for the future?
Yes. No, I mean, one of
yes.
It's one of the fun and difficult things of Michigan House is it's really flexible. It can go a lot of different ways. It's a project that has already gone in ways we never would have expected. And we've over the years tossed around a lot of ideas. It's like, let's do Michigan House's Sundance Film Festival. And like, because I mean, we want to go to Sundance anyways. Let's do it. That'd be a blast.
Flex.
Right?
Yeah, well, and
I saw the
you know,
stories.
some of the things that we have done that we haven't mentioned, like we did an activation art prize one year. So we took over a space and had 18 days of Michigan House, which nearly killed us all. And then we also have activated at the
Detroit Auto Show.
the International Auto Show.
Nice.
Some of the visions we have for the future is about taking it to different festivals and looking at things in a different way. And one of the industries specifically that we're looking at is the outdoor industry. How we can, because Michigan is, has 4 awesome seasons, a lot of, how much coastline, Ted?
More than any other state except for Alaska. I mean, I think even so, just to step back from that, I think one of the things that we've learned, or mostly that Ted has learned, because I am the person who's like, let's do this, let's do this, let's do this, and like ideas all over the place. Yeah. Oftentimes, like people know, like if I'm like driving somewhere, they're gonna get like 3 phone calls from me because I'm like, what if we did that? What if we did that? But
sounds like somebody I know.
Having done this for a while, no, it can go a lot of different places, but I think we're getting to a place where we're starting to be a little more strategic about, okay, we could go anywhere. Yeah. What makes the most sense? Like, where are the places where we could create something impactful and also make a little money doing it? Because I think the thing with Michigan House and like an eventual vision, I've talked about like how cool would it be if there's was a physical Michigan House in the state of Michigan that could be a membership type thing, like like a Soho House kind of thing. Yeah. Sure, Ted, that's a great idea, but like who's paying for that, and like who's gonna come to that, and how does that where does that all happen? But after doing South by for a while, we know like we can put together a short, impactful activation anywhere in the country. I mean, one of the cool things about doing South by, it's like if you can do it there, you can do it anywhere. Right. So this opportunity to do something in the outdoor industry has presented itself recently, and it's like we could do that. We could do that well. We're pretty well connected in that industry already, and it's like this is something that we all think is fun and cool. And the Michigan, it's one thing that like people, again, outside of the state, they might know there's some lakes, but they have no idea of the amount of, 4-season outdoor stuff you could do. So it's like, we could do something cool there. So that's, I think, one of the places we're looking right now. But I guess the bigger part of it right now is like, as opposed to 2 years ago when we were like, what if we did this? What if we did this? Or when I was like that, it's a little more strategic. It's a little more, let's really think about the need and the audience for that, for whatever it is we do. When we did the 2 Michigan Houses in Michigan, we found, we had an audience or people show up, but it was like, what are we talking about? Like, we don't have to tell people in Michigan how great the beer is. They live here. We don't have to tell them how great Lake Michigan is. They know. So it's like we need to do. It didn't make as much sense as we thought it did.
One of the other things that we've tossed around and talked about is, taking the things that we've learned, the lessons we've learned along the way, the skills that we've learned through our experiences, putting on this activation within a large and complicated festival structure and using that to consult. And help other people build something like a Michigan House, and just using all the things we learned along the way to help guide others.
Truly, yeah. Again, we had so little idea like what we were doing when we first started, and like the amount of mistakes we made. I believe
very few.
I believe the first year we did it, we had the Austin Police Department visit the house 3 times in 4 days. Oh, wow. And they were cool. They were great. And I got to know them very well. But it was like each year it's like, okay, what do we have to do to not get the police to come shut this down? We should, at some point when we write the novel or the tell-all stories about expose of Michigan House's past. We've had naked people in a shower. We've
Yeah.
had
Which
Vibes.
is
Vibes.
let's be clear, that is the right place to be naked.
it's true.
Vibes. I like it.
Yeah. It's been a lot of fun, but some crazy stuff. But we've learned a lot because of it, and I also think we've also learned, more importantly than like how to not screw up, like how to do it well.
Yeah.
And how to like use a whatever your budget is to do something that actually hits home, because I think specifically in the live event sort of live experience marketing world, it's really easy to spend a lot of money. It's really easy to like spend a lot of money and have something that does what it's supposed to do, but it's hard for that to actually have an impact and like actually change like someone's business or like make an impact on that audience, so that they like remember a brand or remember a state or whatever it may be. And I think we've gotten good at it. I'm not like afraid to say.
So who handles the finances?
We just if there's money in the bank, we spend it.
Spend it.
I do think, we talked about spots where we've grown the team and opportunities where we could grow it even more. Ted, as the only full-time employee on the team, he manages all of the invoicing and finances and business development, so many things. And that's one thing where, in our growth plan, like our next ad is someone to take over those things off his plate. Not because he's not great at it, but because what could he accomplish if he didn't have to be mired down in all of those details and be it's hard to be the person that's like, hey, I'm going to pitch to you, and then also be the person that's like, hey, where's the money? It's like you need sort of a bad cop or like someone who is out there chasing that.
I'd also say, like, on that note, so being someone who like kind of considers themselves a creative person, and like a sort of the visionary sort of person for that, like I think on the finance side, I have to say that like if you're going to be in any kind of a business like this, you definitely need to be open to like asking people for help, finding people who are good at that, asking them questions. We had this past summer, we had help from a number of different like really smart people about like, here's how you should change your sales process. Here's how you should change some of these other processes. And being willing to get outside of your comfort zone a little bit and ask people things is really helpful.
Huge.
It really pays off.
Yeah. I do think there is some value to like, as a creative, to also like not just hand it off to somebody. Like yes, we want to hire somebody, but we want them to hire somebody. Like I think there's some real value to like being stuck in all the dollars and like having to know like how that all works. But I mean, Jamie's right. Like it'd be way better if I wasn't going to like write the "it's been 60 days" email, that kind of a thing. We're getting there.
Well, I do think that's another thing, what you just said about, staying involved. And I think the way that we've grown this project, we've done all the things at one point when we were a small team. So now to bring someone else in, there's a lot of empathy behind an understanding of what the role is to be able to help them shape it and tailor it and to keep it true to our original vision, because we've done that actual work ourselves at one point,
Yeah, I just want to say I'm proud of you guys for doing for Michigan. I think doing it for 6 years and doing it in Grand Rapids is no small feat. And you guys should pat yourselves on the back a lot for that, because even just hearing the idea and the process, I'm somebody that kind of has a little bit of strategy and vision. So I know that like that is not, guys, they're making it sound super easy and super like, yeah, we just had an idea. Like, you don't do that if you come from a city, but a state that is not in LA and New York. Because to find, like you're saying, to find brands that want to support you. We're from West Michigan. A lot of people are entrepreneurs here. They come from nothing. Like me, we spend $1 on something, we don't know where our dollar gets us. It's not like LA companies that have billions of dollars in funding where they can just spend $100,000 to do something in Austin, Texas that might work.
Right.
Everyone in West Michigan, at least in Grand Rapids, at least, what, how much and what is it going to get me?
Yeah.
So the fact that you guys are doing it for 6 years and making it work, on the business side, I give you guys a nice applause, because I know that's not easy to do, because I'm first and foremost a business guy. So I know what you guys are saying make it sound really cool. Anyone who's with me right now knows that shit's not easy.
Yeah,
So,
well, and on the other side too, the fact that you've remained best friends, and that from the relational side, I think is also no small feat. So, what advice do you have to? I mean, we make jokes about like you hear about all the different people that go into business with their friends, and it ends up awful.
and talk about sorry.
What
to
the?
cut you
Can I
off.
get a question?
Yeah,
on,
sorry.
or
We've all been cutting you
what?
off.
He's like, boring question. We're
No,
gonna move on to the
I just
good
want to add
stuff.
like also like the male and female dynamic because I think there's something
Okay,
special
well,
there.
we'll do two-part male and female dynamic, but then also what have you guys? What advice would you give to other? I know there's other people listening that also are in partnerships with friends. So, what advice do you have for them to maintain that friendship while also trying to grow a profitable business and be smart about it? So, how do you balance that? What advice? Like maybe like 3 rules or whatever it might be, and then of course the male-female dynamic.
So I was thinking a little bit about this on the drive over today because, so in general, I knew we were going to talk about collaboration and working together. I think something that we've definitely learned and that I'm reminded of all the time. First of all, so everyone talks about how like great collaboration is and how like it's like we're really collaborative.
That word is so overused, you guys.
Well, I think the way most people use it is kind of bullshit.
I completely.
And it's like
we should talk about that.
It's like the works well with others grade you got in like first grade, and it means like basically you weren't like throwing shit at people and like you weren't like biting somebody, and you did well. It works well with others. But no, collaboration I think, and working with your friends or any of these things are hard.
Correct.
Difficult, and they don't just happen. And it's like any relationship in your life. You have to work at it. You have to make mistakes. You have to get mad at each other. You have to talk to each other. Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, it all starts to me with like communication, talking to each other, understanding where each other are coming from. But most importantly, like I think the biggest part of it is being willing to go back to the table again and how do we get through this? Mm-hmm. And maintaining like the respect for each other that's what you want to do. I think so. Like when we've had moments and there's been plenty when we've been like, why am we even doing this? Like this is like ruining our friendships. It's ruining, our finances. It's like, I don't have time for this, whatever it might be. In the end, for myself, I'm like, Jamie and Peter make me so much better than my life without Jamie and Peter. And they push me to be better. And like, sometimes that's what I'm mad at them is like when they're pushing me to be better. And that's hard and that's growth and that's good. But it's not just like, you don't just get to like show up and like have that happen. Like we've had some great things that like people just shown up and it's worked. We've had some like I said, we've had these magical moments where like whenever somebody who we just moved back from Europe and needed a job and like we have a conversation of coffee and it's like, Bethany Rabbit, you're perfect. Work for us. And she does, and she's like our best friend, and that's great. And like it just happened. But at the same time, like that's rare. That's not sustainable. You can't just like wait for everything to magically happen. So at some point you just have to work at it. You just have to like battle through and have to be mad at each other and still be willing to talk to each other.
You're not going to meet 10 more Jamies in your lifetime.
No. Oh my God, I would kill myself if I did. That's way too many Jamies. No, one is plenty, but one is amazing. And like one has made me so much better at what I do. So much better at what I do. Like every single thing.
I was cutting onions in here.
I know.
Teary-eyed.
No, let me just say like the very beginning, the when you guys asked me what is Michigan House, and I can give you like a pretty like spiel, like sound like I know what I'm talking about. Like that's because of Jamie. Mm-hmm. Like not because she's ever said anything, but because like when I'm thinking about like how do I do this, I'm thinking like we need to be things she said to me like we need to like have like a memorable message. We need to stick to that every time, and like I do that now just on my own because of her influence. But it didn't just happen. It wasn't just like one meeting. This is over 5 years, and again I think to me the biggest thing is just like
and I probably got mad about it a few times.
A few, yes.
Yeah, well, these are people that are making you better.
100%. And if it was easy, it wouldn't be good.
Right.
Like everyone says, if it was easy, everyone would do it. I think it's more like if you're comfortable all the time, you're not getting any better.
100%.
And I mean, you asked this when we first walked in today. It's like, you've done this 5 years. This must be getting like kind of, must feel more and more confident. It's like, I'm confident, but also we push ourselves. And like each year there's 20 different things that could go wrong. But that's why I know that we're getting better and we're sort of growing.
Yeah, there's something to be said for people that do push you. And I think that a lot of people, of course, humans are creatures of comfort. But at the end of the day, I think anyone that's gone through discomfort, which comes from growth, what results is always worth any sort of discomfort that you had along that journey. And in life, you're going to have a lot of creature comfort friends that are fun, and you send memes to them, and you go out for tacos. But sometimes you need people that really push you into that discomfort zone, because it's coming from a place of love, and you know that at the end, that discomfort is going to reap,
Right.
so many.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And so I think I think to your point, being in a partnership with a friend, that's probably more often going to happen in that scenario than in a corporate environment, at least. Certainly not happening where my husband works. Like, you know what I mean? You don't hear these stories. I think that's like a true gift.
And like for me, at least, when I like to work with people, I find it true. A lot of creative entrepreneurs or people, like I like to have a friendship with people. Now, sometimes when it goes bad, you lose the friendship and you lose the business, it hurts a little bit. Because like, if you're like a optimist like me or a good person, like you don't want that to happen.
Yeah.
But sometimes egos get in the way or whatever. But when it's great, you always come back to the foundation. You come back to the friendship. When Liz and I have disagreements, guys, like I always like, Liz, you know me. Like, we're our friends. Like, I wish, and we make jokes about me being friends with you because of your brand. Like, I didn't know Liz. I wasn't into her brand. Like, I didn't get it. But me and her had a friendship. So when we do business together, and I like appreciate her mind and she appreciates my mind, we come back to that. Like, hey, we're really good friends and we understand this. Just because we have two different ways of looking at it doesn't mean that either of us are wrong. We're probably both right. And there's probably something in the middle. And then bam, you find that you have to lose your ego, right? Because a lot of times, and I work with family guys too, so I'm into the managing relationships and egos every fucking day. So I already know what it feels like when like everyone wants to do right for the idea. Like everyone wants the idea to work. We just had different ways of coming at it. And when you can balance and appreciate two different mindsets, then you can have like a great execution. Because if you're a visionary, well, great, your idea is great. Well, you need a processor or someone who knows how to like put the pieces together to kind of pick it apart and tell you how it's going to work. Like, because your main goal is the idea to work, right? And then their goal is to make the idea work. Yeah. So if you understand that, then you guys are always good. But we're human beings, and people might say something or jab at you a little bit because of frustrations. We're all human beings, and we all have emotions, and sometimes you got to bicker things out. And I think, a lot of my friendships and business relationships, a lot with like my brothers and sisters, I call them, like it was like brother and sister relationships. Yeah. Like you're gonna bicker, you're gonna fight. Well, at the end of the day, we're brothers and sisters. And like I think what you guys are kind of like alluding to is that at the end of the day, you guys are friends, and you guys appreciate each other's minds, and that's why, in collaboration internally, right, is why you guys get at collaborating with brands, because you know what it takes to like have a friendship and execute on an idea. So when you go to a brand like, hey, like we're literally doing this day to day, like internally. We have the business, but we know what it feels like. It's not like companies coming together like this would be a smart move to get more money from them. No, you guys are actually friends and have the idea. So I think that's, from what I'm taking from this at least, is like that's very powerful, like as a nugget to hear.
Now we can talk about the male-female. You had that with your question.
Yeah, so like talk about the male-female dynamic. So